Well, we are at 7 p.m. And I think we currently have quorum, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So let's call this meeting to order. This is Monday, October 10th, 2022, and this is the Albany Arts Committee meeting. And we are going to call to order, and I would like to ask Vice Chair Szymanski if you could go ahead and, considering that this is Indigenous Peoples Day, it's particularly prescient to announce the land acknowledgement today.
Okay. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lishan. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that make this their home.
Great. Thank you. Keenan, can I ask, was the city open for business today?
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm. So there was no actual holiday in terms of recognizing and acknowledging Indigenous Peoples Day from the city?
I believe they do something else in that sense, but it's not an official holiday for the city of Albany.
It's interesting that there was a motion passed for the city to officially recognize it as a holiday, but didn't grant an actual functioning working holiday. It seems like there might be a miss there. And especially given that it is Indigenous Peoples Day today, to conduct business as usual without that recognition seems a little bit of a hollow gesture.
Is this the same as what they used to call Columbus Day?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay.
Well, we will continue with the call to order, and Liam, if you can take it from there. And
yeah, no, of course. I'm actually going to pass it off to our new clerk for the Arts Committee. I'll announce her properly shortly, but Joy, if you could do roll call.
Okay. So Chairman Gatch.
Here.
Member Bergman.
Here.
Member Goodman.
Here.
Member Szymanski.
Here.
Member Shaw.
Here.
Member Rexel.
And I believe she's absent.
Okay.
And have we lost a member?
I do believe Member Bowers is not able to make it tonight as well.
Okay. All right. Well, we have quorum, so this meeting is called to order, and our second agenda item is the approval of the minutes. And this is an agenda item, so I believe it is open for a little bit of discussion. And Liam, as you know, there was a little bit of email confusion and exchange earlier today around what was or wasn't on the agenda. So I would just like to use this as an opportunity in the discussion of the minutes to make a formal recommendation that there is more detail and more information in the minutes moving forward, so that there's a clear accounting of what members of the committee are asking to be placed on the subsequent agendas.
Can you be more specific, Chair Gott? What are you referring to?
Earlier, there was when Keenan sent me the agenda earlier in the week to approve, there was a question as to whether or not some items that weren't appearing on the agenda should be appearing on the agenda. And there was a communication which transpired, which indicated that everything that was there needed to be there. However, there was some action items that Member Shaw was looking to discuss in relation to the murals that had been placed on the agenda merely as a subcommittee report. And again, there was some confusion about whether or not that had been made clear in the last meeting, that needed to be an agenda item in this meeting and not just a subcommittee report. But at that point, the agenda had since been approved. So in looking back at the minutes of what had been listed, there were several points that had been made particularly in Member Shaw's presentation that didn't end up in the minutes this time around, that would have indicated, I think, that it needed to be, that there should be an agenda item, if I'm understanding it correctly. And by all means, Keenan and Harsh, if you have information to shed light on that situation in one way, shape, or form, please jump in. But specifically, what ended up happening was Harsh and myself independently ended up having to go back through the video of the last meeting to ascertain what should be on the agenda for this meeting.
I see. Okay.
And I want to make sure that doesn't have to happen again.
And the distinction being that an action item can require a vote, but a committee report would simply be a report and not be actionable until the next meeting.
Right. At our last meeting, there were a couple of issues and concerns that had popped up from various members around items, but we were not able to make a vote because those were just subcommittee reports. And in that meeting, members had expressed that they wanted to see agenda items for those issues.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Keenan, does that sound accurate? Did I get that kind of right?
Yeah, and we'll definitely have more due diligence with that, and I'll definitely follow up with each member before anything gets posted as well.
Okay. And Harsh, did I miss anything in that?
No, I think that captures it. And I just want to say thank you to city staff for kind of looking forward and kind of changing up the process a bit. So appreciate that, Keenan.
Okay. Any other questions about that? All right. Then I think we can put it to vote. And Keenan, is that you, or Joy, is that you?
That would be Joy.
Okay.
Chair Gatch,
No.
Member Bergman,
I believe you're muted.
Yeah. Can you restate the?
Sorry, we're just voting to approve the minutes from last session.
Yes. Okay.
Member Goodman,
I'm going to abstain. I'm not familiar. I better abstain because I'm not exactly sure whether I should or shouldn't. So I'm just going to say, I don't know.
Member Samansky,
Yes.
Member Shaw.
No.
Okay.
So I don't know what that triggers exactly. I felt like I needed to vote no on principle, but does that mean we have to fix the minutes?
So staff will go back and reiterate. I'll be working with chair, and we'll go back and get that minutes to what you guys want.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Keenan. Okay, and then we can move forward, I believe, to agenda item number 3. And this is public comment. And this is for anyone desiring to address the committee on an item that is not on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes. And do we have any public comment for items not currently on the agenda?
Yes, we do have one public comment.
Okay.
And Joy, if you would like to start a timer. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Oh, good evening, everybody. I guess I got a couple questions or statements. So I remember a few months back, Robin Lopez from the SCJC was selected as a sort of panel to vote for the social justice. I forget the exact name of it. I apologize. Something like the social justice community art, something or other.
We're scheduled to meet on the 18th, just so you know.
Thanks for stepping in there. I appreciate it. Good call. Appreciate it. Okay, scheduled to meet on the 18th. Sounds good. And also, I was just wondering, the SCJC, we had our meeting in the City Hall last week on Thursday in person. And I was just wondering why this meeting is not in person and everybody's just kind of sitting at home or wherever you're located. I was just wondering if you're going to be in person next month, or what are the protocols for that, or how does that get arranged? Because I wasn't involved in any decision making about SCJC being in person. I mean, they didn't ask me whether I wanted to meet in person or in Zoom. So I was just wondering what the process is for this committee. Who decides whether to be in person or on Zoom? Do you guys take a vote, or what's going on? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I honestly don't have an answer to your question. If I did, I would share it, but I don't know.
All right. Thank you for being honest. Appreciate it.
Keenan, do we have any other public comment?
Yes, we have one more public comment, actually.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. My name's Richard Tapp, and I'm actually going to speak on, I think it's, is it 6.1, the Masonic art proposal. And I've just been trying to get on with a video, but I can't. But so I just wanted to take this opportunity to make sure I could speak.
Okay. Yes, we will have a public comment section when we get to that agenda item.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's done. I can stop. Yeah.
Thank you. Keenan, do we have any other public comment?
No other public comments at this time.
Okay, great. In that case, we can, Joy, you can go ahead and take the timer down. Good. And that will bring us to agenda item number 4, which is announcements from staff and committee members. Keenan, do we have any staff announcements? I'm guessing we have at least one.
Yes, no, of course. So I would like to welcome a new staff member to help with the Arts Committee moving forward. Her name is Joy White. She is in the Recreation Department as well as I am. She's wonderful. She works at the community center, and she's great at what she does. So we're very lucky to have her be a part of our team here.
Great. Welcome, Joy. Anything you want to say to introduce yourself?
No.
That's what I get for asking yes/no questions. Well, welcome nonetheless. And
Thank
we
you.
look forward to getting to know you better as we move along. Keenan, any other announcements from staff?
No other announcements just yet, no.
Okay. And are there any announcements from committee members? No announcements. And Joy, I don't know if it's showing up for everyone, but I'm still seeing Richard's window in my Zoom, but I think he was up just for public comment. In the past, we haven't had. Great, thank you. Okay. If there's no other announcements, then we will move to agenda item number 5, which is presentations. And do we have presentations separate from agenda item 6, Keenan?
No other presentations.
Okay. Then if there are no other presentations, we'll move right along to agenda item number 6. Agenda item number 6 has several sub-items, and I'm going to just read through these before we go back through them one by one. Item 6.1 is a review of public art proposal for new mixed-use residential building at 904 Masonic. Item 6.2 is the advisory body status report. Item 6.3 is the sculpture loan program. Item 6.4 is the presence of art on the city website. And item 6.5 are subcommittee reports. So we will begin with item 6.1. This is a review of a public art proposal for new mixed-use residential building at 904 Masonic. And Keenan, can I have you introduce this agenda item and explain for context what this item is?
Yeah, no, of course. So I'm going to be bringing in a community development staff member that's going to be doing a presentation on this project. This is part of the public art ordinance on how certain businesses either bring money to the city by either paying a certain percentage or they provide a sculpture for a certain amount as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in our staff member, and then we'll go ahead and talk about this agenda item.
Great, thank you.
There we go. Thank you, Keenan. Everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great. My name is Jeff Bond. I'm the Community Development Director. It's a pleasure to be here with the committee this evening. What I'd like to do is give you a presentation, a quick overview. I know you're familiar with the public art program and ordinance, but it's been quite some time since we brought a development project application to you. So I'd like to present that to you. You've already heard from Richard Tapp. He is here representing the applicant, and we'll give Richard an opportunity to speak to this in a few moments. First of all, I want to apologize for getting materials to you late over the weekend. Unfortunately, last week was an unexpectedly busy week for us in our department, and normally we would get these materials to you when your regular packet comes out. So again, my apologies. It's not something that we strive to get these things to you on time, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. So the public art in public places ordinance has been in place for 15 years. I had the opportunity back 15 years ago to work on drafting that for the committee and for the city council. And that's kind of the foundation of what you are seeing this evening is the ordinance, the requirements to include public art in larger development projects. In addition to the ordinance itself, the committees back in first in 2010 and then again in 2016 adopted a master plan. Again, I know you're familiar with that. I won't go into those details. But those two documents serve as the foundation for how we in the community development department, the planning department, basically process and development applications and bring these types of proposals to you. So the project in particular that we're talking about this evening is a new construction. It's a 4-unit project at 904 Masonic. This is just south of Solano Avenue. It is essentially, appears to be essentially a single-family home. I believe it's been used for an office most recently. But it's in our zoning district, Solano Commercial Zoning District. So what is proposed here is a 4-unit residential structure. And the scope of this project is large enough to trigger public art requirements. And there are basically 2 elements. Well, before I go to that, actually, let me just give you a share screen real quickly so everybody can see a view of the front elevation of the project. This is the front elevation as if you were standing, say, on the Albany Greenway, just south of Solano Avenue, looking to the west. This is what you would see. And we'll come back and talk about these balcony elements in a moment. As I mentioned, it's 4 units. There is basically a proposal for 2 different components to the project. The first is those balconies, and a proposal is for a local artist, Molly Sampson, to design and fabricate those custom balcony elements that would basically be incorporated as an art element into the development of the project. The second proposal is for a geometric pattern, basically to kind of create a 3-dimensional appearance on the north side of this building. And bear with me a second here while I bring that up. Oops. Let's see here. Zoom down. Thanks for your patience here. Oops, there we go. Okay. Bring it up a little bit. So this is a 3-dimensional. This is essentially a paint treatment. So it's an architectural treatment that the developer is proposing that be counted towards the public art requirement. Normally, when we originally crafted this ordinance, we were trying to make a distinction between architectural elements and art elements. And so this is an interesting project in that it triggers that discussion of, where is that line between an architectural element and an artistic or craftsperson type of element. And we can go into that in more detail if you would like. Overall, the art component is required to be approximately $16,000 in valuation. The way we would normally do this is review and execute a contract between the developer and the artist, or invoices between the developer and the artist. And if there were any questions, we have in the past brought in a public art consultant who can help verify the valuation. We did this in particular for the large Bruce Beasley sculpture on the Belmont Village project as an example. We wanted to confirm that that valuation was accurate. And so we were able to do that with relatively easily. So I think I will pause here. And before turning over to Richard, I'd like to see if the committee members have any questions for me.
Sorry, member Goodman, go ahead.
Yeah, the north side elevation, that's along, there's a driveway there, and then right, not more than maybe 8 feet, there's another building. And is that building, I think there was some development proposed for that site, but currently that building is there now. And so it's basically not so visible from the street. Is that right?
Right.
Right.
Okay. And they have not proposed any, when you said a geometric pattern, I don't know what that means exactly, but I, you don't know what they had in mind.
Well, it's essentially using different shades of paint to create what looks like a three-dimensional wall when in fact it's one-dimensional.
Oh, you mean what we saw on your screen? That's what they're proposing.
Right.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And Richard can elaborate on this, and don't mean to diminish the importance of trying to do a nice architectural treatment on that by any means. It's just a question of whether it crosses the line into being an artistic treatment, or whether you consider it more of an architectural treatment. That there's a gray area there, and the committee would be, your input on that judgment is more than welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. I think the procedure that I would like to see for now is we should continue with the presentation, and then we'll have an opportunity for committee members to ask questions when they have all of the information. And then we will also open it up for public comment and then a follow-up discussion. So rather than getting into questions and then coming back into the presentation and then getting into more questions, I think if you're done with your presentation, then I think I would like to pass it along to Richard.
Yes, thank you. I'm finished.
Thank you.
Richard, please go ahead.
Right. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So just to follow up on the north elevation, while it's fresh in our minds, the north elevation actually faces Solano Avenue. The driveway that I think Mr. Goodman, you were talking about is actually on the south elevation, or the south side of the building. That's where the driveway is. And I don't know if Jeff can put up the three elevations that you had before, that you showed. The concept, while Jeff's doing that, the concept of the north wall, it's a geometric pattern, but it is supposed to replicate, may not be the best word. Could you go, Jeff, could you just, if you could go back to the other one with the three elevations? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so if you look down at the bottom, the top right is the front elevation, the top left is the rear elevation, and then the bottom one here is this is the south elevation, and this is actually three-dimensional. And I don't know if you can see this, but that is a rendering of that elevation. Can everyone see that?
It would be better if you stopped the screen share and then held it up. And if everyone is on speaker view, I think we'll be able to see it better. So if you can hold that up again.
Okay, so how do I see, let me go to the.
That's okay. If you hold it up and everyone else is in speaker view, then we should be able to see you and what you're holding.
Does that work?
Yep, that works.
So that's a three-dimensional of the front and the south elevation. And what we were looking at, so there's a lot of ins and outs, there's a lot of undulation and modulation on the facade here and different materials and colors. So then, Jeff, if you could go back to the north elevation, what we were looking at doing was replicating is the wrong word. This is it's a reference where this one here, the north elevation, we're really referring to the south elevation. So this is a flat facade. It's a zero lot line, and the gray down below at the base level, the first story, is actually covered by Mr. C's building. And if you see the red line here, I don't know if you can see it on mine, but yeah, yes. that area, that's Mr. C's building. And then the rest of, as you go to the west, to the rear of the building, that area that Jeff's pointing at, that can be seen from Solano Avenue. And also the top 4.5 can be as well. And so what we thought of doing, obviously we didn't want to have a flat zero lot line stucco wall. But on the other hand, it's a small lot. It's a zero lot line, and we had to take advantage of that. So what we did is we referenced the other side of the building, and the concrete base is similar to the other side. The grey is similar to the other side, and then the brown is referencing the hardy plank finish on the building, and then the bump outs with the shadows. The shadows are going to be painted to give that 3D effect. So everything will be done with not just painted lines, but also with stucco control joints. So that there'll be crisp lines, there'll be permanent lines too. And so it'll be easier for the painters to paint, although I'm sure they would rather probably just paint a flat wall. But the line work and the colors will be controlled. It's not just a snap line on stucco. So, and then Adam, the owner of the project, Adam Nasser, has been coordinating the art proposal, and he has Roma Painting has quoted a price of $7,400 for this for this treatment, and I can't do it, but the building is, I've got drawings here. Let's see. So it's about 67 feet, I think, long, and about let's see, 27 to about 28 feet, wide. So, and the height is 3 stories for that wall. I don't know if there are any questions on that at all for me, if this is the appropriate time for that or not.
Yeah, if you're done with the presentation, we can go to questions.
Well, then I just wanted to jump quickly onto the railing detail, the railings. So there are 4 railings on the building, and Jeff can bring, I think he can bring the front elevation. Right, if we go up to the right, okay. So on the right-hand side, yes, on that. So here we go. We've got 2 balconies here, and we have 2 similar balconies, exactly the same in the rear. And so what we proposed was some decorative artwork on the railings. One is that it would be it would add a lot of interest to the building. 2, it's permanent, and also it is away from the sidewalk, so it's away from any vandalism, etc., etc. And so there would be 4 of these, and the artistic railing returns on each side, so that on the 3D it shows returning on each side. And Molly, and so this is the yeah. Thanks. It actually looks a little bit like commercial on the lower floor. It is live work, so that's a residential use. And Jeff and I have been going around on that for a while. So the concept, Jeff, did the members get the description from the artist, Molly Sampson?
We received it late this afternoon, I believe. I don't know that was sufficient time for anybody to take a close look at it. So if you have information that you want to share.
Well, I'll just go through it very quickly. So the concept is the fern symbolizes, she's looking, the design for, I don't know, I don't have this on my screen, but the design is for a fern laser cut out of 1/4-inch steel. And the concept here is the fern symbolizes new life and new beginnings. The design is inspired by the elegance of our native California sword fern. The images the image is rendered in a loose style which allows for both abstract and more literal interpretation. The amount of open to covered area on the panels allows for both privacy and airflow. And then the cost estimated for one laser cut balcony rendered in a 1/4 inch thick steel consisting of 4x9 front panels and 4x5 side panels, metal finish frame and brackets is $1,200 to $1,800 per balcony. So the cost for 4 would be approximately $9,600 to $14,000 for the 8 balconies, and that includes installation as well. And then Molly Sampson, she's a Bay Area artist and resident. She's a proponent for beautiful building and is motivated toward a design aesthetic which references and reflects the natural surroundings of the Bay Area. In the past, Molly has enjoyed exhibiting her work in Albany. Her most current work is now showing at the RPSC Gallery in Oakland throughout the month of September.
Do you have any examples of Molly's work?
There is an example that she submitted for the railing. And so this is more of an earthy, rudimentary form, but the concept is it would be cut metal in the form of the fern. And this is not really a very good copy of the fern. It's the black is a little bit too dominant, but that's the concept that she's looking at.
And is the steel treated in some way, or is it untreated?
I think it's not really stated in her proposal, but I think it's inferred that it's untreated. It would be finished, so it's not it wouldn't corrode or stain, but it would be. I think it's going to be a similar look to the other fence railing that was submitted.
Okay. Sorry, I've already jumped the gun and started asking questions.
No, yeah, sure, no problem.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I just want to be clear. You say 8 balconies, but what I see are 2 balconies with 4 panels. Is that correct?
There are two balconies in the rear, which we're going to do as well. They're exactly the same as at the front.
So that would be 4 balconies with 4 panels.
It would be 4 balconies with 4 front panels and then 8 side panels.
Okay, each balcony has 4 panels, so it'd be 4 balconies.
3. Each panel it has 3 panels, so a front and 2 sides.
All right, but the back wouldn't be visible.
No, it would be to the residents in the backyard. There's a garden there.
That doesn't count for public art, though.
You're right. Okay, good point. All right.
If only they can see it. It's supposed to be seen by the public.
Right.
So the back balconies don't concern me. What I'm seeing when I look at your elevation is there's a post in the middle of the balcony, so it looks like 2 panels in the front and 1 on each side for 2 balconies, which would only be 8 panels. But you're saying there's 3 panels per balcony.
Well, yes. The front panel is divided into 2, but when I was using the count,
okay.
Correct.
So,
okay.
All right. So we've got it. 4 panels per balcony, 2 balconies. That's 8 panels.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I would like to ask, is everybody done? Are we open to
No, we're not. We're not
okay.
done.
I just wanted to get the panels. I just couldn't figure out the panels. So thank you.
Okay. Member Goodman, you have your hand up.
Yeah, it was kind of a similar question about the back. I had the same concern. So the back is completely invisible from the street on the side, which I guess is that Evelyn? Then the next street down from there, or is?
Yeah, yes, it would be. It would be blocked. There's a fairly large apartment building at the rear. However, from there, from Solano Avenue, it would be seen. There are some single-story buildings on that Solano south side. So the third story would easily be seen from Solano Avenue.
I have another question. If you're looking at that 3D effect that you're trying to get on the side of the building,
yes,
if you're looking at it head on, you see it as 3D. But if you're really just passing by on the sidewalk and looking at it down the side of the building, do you get any of that three-dimensionality?
I think you do. It's an illusion. I've seen other buildings around, driving around that have it's a flat facade, completely flat, and then they do have some sort of motif on them that has painted shadows. And it is surprising how the brain picks up the three-dimensional look. Obviously, it's not like the south side with the ins and outs, but there will be the illusion of it. I think it's a very attractive. It's a handsome way of dealing with that blank wall. If you look at the development down at Sprouts, what's the name of that? Is it the senior citizen center?
I think you're referring to Belmont Village.
Yeah, Belmont Village, right? Yeah, okay. If you look there, they have a very minimal design on the side of the building. I think it's just a quilt. It's a patchwork, and it's reasonably effective. It's reasonably effective at breaking up the bulk. But this, I think, would really be something different. And if we were just doing sort of like a painted, some paint work to break up the flat building, we'd do something less elaborate. But here we'll be laying out the areas. We'll be putting control joints in, and the stucco will be stopped at those areas, so that there will be quite a lot of labor to get the effect.
One final question. I do have a comment on that, but I'll wait until the comment time. The screens, were they just going to be? Are they going to be like a colored steel, or is it going to be kind of steel and then it's going to weather and presumably not rust, but maybe just turn black over time?
Well, no. There's a finish that you can put on the steel that will keep it in a sort of more of a natural state without rusting or deteriorating. But originally, if you look at the original design that Jeff showed up with the buildings, as architects we had it colored, and that my interpretation was the color would add to the building. Molly, I think, has come to it from a slightly different perspective, and art is subjective, obviously. Many things are subjective, and I think based on she does not address the finish, except it says a metal finish frame, but then. And she's out of town, so I haven't been able to talk to her about it. I was brought into this at about around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
I see. But so, metallic is sort of gray, or
yeah, it could be a galvanized steel. Yeah, it could be a galvanized steel, or it could be a natural weathered steel. Okay. But I think based on the photo that Jeff showed, she's looking for a more of a natural, natural steel. But I think also the photo, the example she gave, was a little bit too how do I say it, rustic, a little bit too earthy. I think the fern is a much more delicate design and a much more of appealing as a motif on the building.
Okay.
I have a question for, I guess it's for both Jeff and for Richard. I was wondering if you could speak a little to what you see as the difference between art and ornamentation, art and architectural ornamentation or decoration.
I can address that, I think. I would really go back to the ordinance itself, which the Arts Committee at that time spent a lot of time working on, and rely on those definitions as to what is an ornamentation. And let me just look at my notes on this here. So what the ordinance as approved back in 2007 stated is normal landscaping, paving, architectural ornamentation, or signage, except so items are not public art, are normal landscaping, paving, architectural ornamentation, or signage, except where these elements are designed by the artist and are an integral part of the fine artworks by the artist. Then some of the other exclusions are pretty straightforward. Things that are advertising in nature, things that are directional elements, any sort of mass-produced items, and with all due respect to Richard's skills as an architect, we were really looking to have the work completed by an artist rather than an architect. Now, of course, many architects can also be legitimate artists, so there's a gray area there. But the intent was that we're really creating an environment where artists will have an opportunity to contribute to the built environment in Albany.
May I just say a few words? Great. Okay. So Jeff, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not offended at all. What we were looking at, we took an architectural approach to the imagery on the wall. Now it is paint, so it's a single, it's a flat surface, but art inherently through the ages has been on a flat surface, and it's been paintings. So this is a geometric form, a contemporary approach. It's more than just a paint treatment with the way we're doing it. And I think you could really say that it's like a modern geometric mural. So Jeff, would a mural is painted, and would that be considered art? Under the Albany program.
Richard, a car is also painted. I don't know that makes it art.
Right, understand. So anyway, that it isn't a mural, it isn't a masterpiece, but it's quite elaborate is too strong a word, but there was a lot of thought put into it. And we went back and forth with Chris and with Anne in resolving it, and also with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission wanted a better scheme for that side wall, which we then worked on, and then they accepted it, and it was the project was approved unanimously by the by the Planning Commission, and the north wall was I think a significant part of that proposal and approval.
Member Szymanski, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, I just want some clarification about actually the money that's being spent, because we have a percentage of construction costs, and that seems pretty low for the construction cost of this building. And so I just like to know how you arrived at $16,000.
Jeff, you're muted, I believe, or you're not picking up for some reason. No.
Oh, can I speak to that?
Sure.
It was the amount was determined. I think the amount was determined by Chris or Anne in some emails, correspondence backwards and forward, based on the construction cost of the building.
I know that, but the construction cost of your building, if you made it 1.75%, it would be double that at least. So I don't know how it got to $16,000. That's what I'm asking. Unless you're going to build a building that size for $1 million, which you won't, I don't know how you got $16,000.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let me explain how we approach this. We use a construction valuation technique that comes from the organization that creates building codes. For better or worse, it has nothing to do anymore, at least, with actual construction costs. It is a table that we use that most building departments in the country use to determine valuation. And then we use that for all sorts of different calculations that we do in processing permits. So it's a valuation for determining the amount that people pay for permits. This was discussed at the time the ordinance was adopted, recognizing that it's not the actual valuation of the actual cost of construction. For something like that, it's very difficult for us to come to a consensus with an applicant about what they're going to pay for construction. And so we use this table. It again, it comes from the International Code Council. We do make some local adjustments to that, but we didn't attempt, and it doesn't attempt to represent the actual construction costs. It's quite a bit lower.
Ah, would say so. So what it says in the ordinance is not true. You use some other calculation that is much lower. How old is this table that you use?
We update it every year.
And you mentioned that it's national. Does it account for local economy, local construction?
That's the adjustment we make. We increase it by about 20% for I think it's about 20% for Bay Area construction costs.
And what does the cost per square foot come out to in that calculation?
It'd take me a couple of minutes to find that. I could come up with that if you'd like.
But the value of this project is a bit more than $1 million then to come to 16,000?
For purposes of calculating permit fees, and this being one of those, again, I'm sorry, I don't have the math at my fingertips for this, but I think it was in that neighborhood.
Right.
Well, this project is 4,682 square feet. And even if you made it $500 a square foot, which is pretty low around here, it would still come out to $40,000. So that's a lot lower than square footage.
Well, except that's where we are. It's like when take your car, the car dealer, and they don't judge you by time. They look in a book and they tell you how much it costs to change a spark plug.
Yeah, I'm just getting to see how off this is. I'm just wondering. Because what it says is construction costs, but it's not really construction costs. It's some table that they use that is much lower.
Right. An analogy would be property taxes in California. We pay property taxes based on the valuation of our property. It's not the amount of money that it might be worth, for better or worse. But that's the way the formulas work, and we have to do that. Otherwise, every permit would be a negotiation, and that just doesn't work, unfortunately.
Can you just clarify if this is the same amount that would be paid in lieu of the architect? Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I've got another question. When this was passed when this was approved by the planning and zoning, did they see the design on the north wall, and was that part of their? Was that partly? Was that persuasive to the to them that they should pass the project? Is it sort of baked into the design at this point? If that
Jeff was, I think Jeff, you were there, right?
I personally was not involved in processing the planning part of this,
Right.
but this set of plans is the set of plans that was approved, and I would go back to if the committee wished to modify that paint, if you considered it public art, you're welcome to modify it. If you don't consider it art, that would really be outside the realm of your scope of this review. So if you wanted to say there's some paint treatment on that elevation would be appropriate as public art, absolutely, we can look at that, and we might have the commission review that again. But if you feel like that kind of a paint treatment is just not a place you want to go, then I wouldn't recommend modifying that.
May I just speak a little bit to that?
Is this your opinion in the document that's created that's, I think 2 pages, that says in staff's view, the custom railings are an artistic element that meets the intent of public art. The painting, however, is an architectural element that essentially is not itself a work of art.
That is my recommendation based on kind of the evolution of the ordinance many years ago. We haven't tested this a lot, and again, completely respect where the committee wants to go with this. If you want to consider some sort of architectural treatment as an art element, that would be just fine with us. I'm happy to take your direction on that, but kind of from a starting point, yeah, I would, if there was to be a paint treatment, I would want to have an artist be the creator of that to stay consistent with the spirit of what the City Council and the Arts Committee back in 2007 was talking about.
Got it. Thanks.
Then if I could just, Member Goodman, as far as the Planning Commission hearing, I was there. We've been through a few iterations with the Planning Commission, but this last one, the north wall was a significant concern to the Planning Commission. And on our drawings and in our presentation, what we said is we would, because we're aware of the art component for the project, and we at the time then we said the front 2 balconies and the wall would be part of the art component for the project. Now the Planning Commission approved it based on the aesthetics. Their jurisdiction was not determining whether it was art or not, I assume.
Okay, I want to be cognizant of time. We still have to open it up to public conversation or public discussion if there's comments, as well as follow-up discussion, and then if there's any action items or recommendations from the committee. And that's just this agenda item. So I want to ask if there's any pressing questions from other members before opening it up for public comment. As a reminder, the committee will have an opportunity to have a discussion following public comments. All right, if there's no additional questions, Keenan, do we have public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, then that'll bring it back to discussion. And do we have any discussion items, thoughts from committee members that you'd like to share at this time? Member Goodman, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm happy to wait my turn. I don't want to, but I just say I do have things to say on both those things. The starting with the balconies, I agree with Member Szymanski. The things that are in the back that no one can see except the residents, I don't really think that is in the spirit of the ordinance to have public art being publicly viewable. So I guess I don't really care what they do in the back, but whatever they do there wouldn't really count to the public art. As regards the front of the building, I don't have so much trouble with the design per se, but looking at the sample photograph that the artist provided, showed one of them with like plants growing through it, and it seems to me that those balconies are going to be used. There's going to be stuff and clutter out there, people hanging drapes and stuff over, maybe running plants through that. The effect of that art is going to be diminished by the amount of use to which it's put. And while inherently the designs are okay, I don't think in practice they're necessarily going to work out that well. They're not going to be really so visible, or they're going to be obscured. There is a nice space on the front of the building between the balcony area and the windows, which is basically a blank wall, which would be a perfect place for very visible public art if they wanted to consider it. That's what I think about the balconies. As far as the side goes, I really don't see that as public art at all. It seems to me like it's really more about covering up. I don't want to say an architectural defect, but it's a flat wall that is of no architectural interest, and so making some sort of architectural design on it to give it the illusion of more depth seems to be solving a problem that was raised by the Planning and Zoning Board as being just a boring wall, and trying to shoehorn it into our arts ordinance does not seem quite right. I've attended a number of those planning and zoning commissions, and it often comes up that this site is boring. Add some more depth to it, and so the architect will go back and they'll add dormers to a window, or they'll recess a wall. They'll do something actual physical to the building in order to make the surface more interesting. And here, it's just putting a bunch of paint on it. I'm not saying it's not a good solution. It probably is a good solution, but because it's done by the architects designing the building in the hopes of getting it through the permit process, and not by an artist who's looking at it from an artistic point of view, I don't really think it counts. So on both those counts, I'm not very enthusiastic about these plans.
Thank you, Member Gibbon. Member Szymanski.
I just want to thank Peter. I couldn't agree more. Also, I think that we'd have to know more about the artist, and there's a validation process as far as how much these things would cost. But I don't see any of these as public art, either the balconies or certainly the trompe l'oeil effect that they want to do on the side of the building, which could be covered by another building within another couple of years, you know? So I think only the front of the building is viable as far as a public art where you can visibly see it. So I think that's where it belongs. And if there's no exemptions for this building, then I don't see any public art here.
Any other discussion comments from members? Member Shaw, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think Peter put it in a very articulate way, and I think I generally agree with everything Peter said.
Richard, I really want to thank you for presenting. I think the building looks really nice. I think the elements that you're proposing as public art don't really quite hold up to what we would hope to see from public art. I think it quite literally meets the definition of superficial, and that we are looking at a surface treatment, and that there's, and this is to take nothing away from Molly, but in this particular instance, I do think it really does strike at architectural ornamentation, and that it will largely be missed by the public and be kind of kept from the public eye. If you're looking for ideas for architectural kind of mixes between public art and architecture, I think the better examples that we see from privately owned public open space art in San Francisco is a good starting point. Places where the public can meet, where they can convene, where there's direct lines of sight and visibility for the artwork, and where the artwork is really generative for intellectual discussion, discharge of emotions, some sort of aesthetic provocation. But as it stands now, in terms of what we've seen from the presentation, I think it's really largely ornamentation in both senses.
I agree.
Member Bergman?
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I agree with Member Bergman, Member Goodman, and Szymanski and Gatch. That was my thought. Oops.
Jeff, you have your hand up. Did you want to add something?
Yes, thank you. If I may just kind of pose a question to you. This is a development project that Richard and his client want to get started. It is housing. It's a crucial thing for our community. We're excited for the project overall. There's a kind of a big picture option here, which is continuing to work with the committee and trying to come up with a art element that is something that you're excited about, or there's always the alternative of simply paying that amount in lieu and putting it into city coffers for the committee to use in other locations. We've done that a few times. We've done both. And so I'd just be interested to get a feel from the committee if you have an opinion about that big picture choice. Thank you.
Personally, I love the idea of the architect or the developer working with local artists and providing opportunities for local artists. I think that's fantastic. I don't think developers have to necessarily pay the in lieu amount. We currently have a fairly healthy amount in that budget for us to work with. So anytime a developer has the opportunity to really collaborate with an artist and not just instrumentalize art or instrumentalize the artist to get the project through, we're excited to see that. And I think I speak for everyone, but people can disagree with me as much as they want. In terms of things that we might get excited about, there's a lot that can happen at the street level. And there's also varying degrees of commitment that the developer can take when they are embracing the arts. Oftentimes, what we tend to see is kind of half efforts or half gestures or shortcuts to dealing with art. It seems like it's often an afterthought. And I think that there are opportunities here to think about what could be happening at the ground level for arts. You've included a live workspace, a really ambitious gesture, which I do not expect, but I will voice it, would be to consider that space as an artist-run space, as a space where you commit a living space, a living working space for local artists at an affordable rate within the Bay Area, and make that commitment as a developer that you will support artists to live in this building that you're creating. And maybe as a condition, that storefront is then used by artists as well. There's a lot of cities that have had tremendous success using storefronts as a space for hosting art, and having work done on a rotating basis, much the same way that a lot of architectural spaces employ some level of advertising where they're generating revenue from it by showing us advertisements as opposed to showing us artworks. That would be a really ambitious effort. And again, I acknowledge, Richard, that may be more than you want to bite off for at this time. There are ways to scale that back. You're interested in doing paint on the wall, and you are absolutely right to point out that there is a long tradition going all the way back to caves where people like to put paint on walls. Albany has acknowledged that we want to be creating more murals. There are opportunities to think about that space more as a canvas rather than as an architectural problem to be solved. And again, to really collaborate with artists and work with artists about and thinking about what does that look like. Again, that doesn't necessarily have to be representational. We don't have to think about that in cliche tropes of painting and say it's not a painting unless it's a still life or a portrait. But these things can be more abstract, but they need to be, I think, more ambitious and more art forward for a public art work. They don't need to be that for an architectural work at all. You can do the architectural elements as you see fit as an architect, but if it's going to satisfy the public art requirement, then I believe that art has to be placed more forward. Member Szymanski?
Yes, I would agree. I'd like to commend the architect and the contractor trying to include art in their buildings, to make them more artful and not just generic. But I think what you said is true, that for real public art, you'd have to engage more purposely. Now, if you're really in a hurry to get this building started, which is what I'm hearing, then I can understand that collaboration in this way could set you back. And if this is what you're talking about, then I would say, maybe you should go ahead and just give the money to the art committee. But if you can spare the time and the planning to collaborate with the artists, then please do that. Please do that.
Richard, you have your hand up. Oh, you're muted.
We can't hear.
Is that better?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I think the issue about timing and schedule, which is really not an artistic issue, but it's a significant issue for the owner. One thing that could be done, and this is more, Jeff's just left, but I'm sure he's listening, that it could be done. It could take time to go backwards and forwards. Obviously, we could work with staff and then present, come back to the arts committee again, and there may be then suggestions, and we come back one more time. So that could be several months. Jeff, would it be possible to do something where the art proportion could be a condition of approval, final approval and occupancy for the building, and that we could set a timeline that condition, that the artwork be resolved within a 6-month period or something like that, as a condition, for the building. We're trying to get the building permit issued. So
the short answer is yes. We could, with the committee's understanding that that's what we're doing, we could arrange for the permit to be issued, and this continued to be a work in progress. We would normally expect the art to be probably the very last thing that is brought into a project like this, just so it's not damaged. So I think we've got a number of months to, once construction starts, to sort this out.
Good. The other thing too, being an architect, I can represent my building very well, but representing Molly, the artist, I feel it would be good for her to actually, be part of the Zoom presentation, and she would probably do a much better job at presenting her work than I have tonight.
Just to clarify, I think you should still incorporate Molly's work in your building, but I don't know that would necessarily. I mean, I do know as it's currently proposed, it does not satisfy the public art requirement. I hope that doesn't become an obstacle for you to continue working with her. This is no slight on her whatsoever, or her work whatsoever. But I hope that your relationship in incorporating her elements in your building are not solely dependent on whether or not it satisfies the public art requirement.
Oh, no, understand. Yeah, no, but she's the lead on it, right? From that point of view, it's an artistic endeavor. And she was brought on after the way, a long time after the building was designed. So she didn't have any involvement in the design of the building. And I provide some feedback on her design, but her artwork, but that's her presentation. One thing that Member Goodman said, that the wall with the and I'm jumping ahead here, and I'll just say this, that I think the concept of the fern and the history of the fern, and I wasn't aware of it, and I think that's actually that's a very appealing concept. So there are ways in which that could be brought into the building, and I won't. But Member Goodman mentioned that there was a blank wall that would not be overgrown with plants or towels or whatever on a balcony. And so there's that opportunity. There's also, it is a live workspace. So there are some opportunities down on the lower floor and also the storefront. So she'll look at this. She'll go back and look at this and hear all your comments and then come forward with a new proposal.
Great. Are we looking, Keenan, are we looking for any sort of action on this for tonight?
I think Mr. Chair, if I may address that, I think your discussion this evening is very helpful. I think with working with Richard, we can get the permit issued and come back to you in a month or two with some refinements, and hopefully have something that is we're able to move forward with. So I don't think any action is necessary this evening unless committee members themselves want to make a motion. We're not asking for anything at this point.
And then just to be clear, before any decisions are made on the public art, you would come back with another presentation, correct?
Yes, very much so. You will need
absolutely.
to make a motion to vote to approve the.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you both very much for your time tonight.
You're welcome. And again, my apologies for getting materials to you late. I feel badly about that, but we'll be more prompt next time.
Thank you for addressing that. I absolutely appreciate that because they came quite late. All right. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Okay.
We are going to move to our next agenda item, and that is item 6.2. This is the advisory body status report. And Keenan, are you introducing this item?
Yeah, no, of course. So we are getting closer to the end of the year as well as end of our work plan itself. With this, we do need to update the city council on kind of our status of what we're up to with our work plan. I believe you guys received that with the agenda on Friday. If you had some time to look it over, this is more of just a draft of kind of staff view on it. But we would also love to have a member of the committee to help refine this as well as add any input in there as well. I do believe there is also a component at the very bottom for potential future work plan items. So this would be to add any new things that you might be looking forward to doing in the future two-year work plan. And then that would also be presented to the council for approval or any modifications from there as well.
Can I ask really quickly, have this just went out Friday afternoon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Have committee members had sufficient time to look over this yet?
I have not.
Honestly, I did not either.
I have not as well, I have to admit. Is it possible to table this item to give staff or give committee members sufficient time with the the advisory, and then to reconsider this at the next meeting?
What I have been told is we recently got this about a week and a half ago. And at the November meeting for City Council, they would like to review this. So either at their first or second meeting. We would kind of like to have some movement in it at least. We did a lot of research and put some of all these status updates on this already, but it's just more to update or add any additional items. So this would be more just having a representative of the Arts Committee to help move that process along. So this would be kind of a time if anybody's interested in helping reviewing that with staff to add any additional inputs, as well as we'll keep all members involved with that process as well. So nobody's going to be excluded from this, but there's just more of a point person that helps with staff.
Okay, so you're looking for a point person, but then also, as I understand it, if the committee doesn't chime in now on any of these items, this is still going to be presented to council before we meet again.
Possibly, yes.
I'm always amazed at how quickly something can move and other things kind of move so slowly. I guess we're jumping in on it then. Keenan, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and then walk us through it?
I mean, this is just the summary of the old work plan, and it's an update. It's not necessarily what we're going to have in the work plan for next time around, right?
Correct. Yes. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So this is kind of the background of when it was approved previously. It was recommended by the Arts Committee in April 2021, approved by the City Council May 3rd. And this is a 2-year work plan. So the next work plan would go from July 2023 till end of June of 2025. So we have a background of kind of the process itself. But the kind of the nuts and bolts of it is kind of getting down to the actual individual work plan items. We do have previous outcomes of the last work plan from 2019 to 21. And some of those did get pushed over due to the COVID pandemic, where some of the processes or projects were stalled just due to the nature of the pandemic itself. But down here, closer to the actual work plan itself, we have the status update down here, which is more for actually getting to the nuts and bolts of what each of these programs are going by. So for each program, for example, like Sculpture Loan Program, we have a status of how that's come about. And I know we're going to have another agenda item talking about that, either going forward with another call for artists, which can be included in this status as well. So these are just individual statuses of each project that we're going through the work plan itself.
Keenan, just a random thing here. It looks like there's a blank spot for the name of the sculpture. It's called Bard Spiral.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so that will be filled in, I guess, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Keenan, can I ask you a question as you're kind of scrolling through? Last time our work plan was approved by City Council, I had the joy of being the one to present it and being on the hot seat when they pointed out that there were several items included that had been added on from the previous work plan and that had been in the work plan prior to that one as well and had been had not been accomplished. In this version, are some of the items that are there, are they again kind of cut and pasted from the previous version? Like specifically, I saw that the creek art was one of the items. That item, I think, has been on work plans for many, many years at this point, and has been canceled for many, many years at this point. That is certainly something that I think is going to draw the attention of City Council, and want to know why we're not making progress, or why we're reporting things, giving them status reports for things that they had previously received status reports for.
Yeah, so currently what you're seeing is our current work plan. So this is the chance where we can notify that option of if the program is canceled or no longer viewed as a work item. That's that kind of a chance to update the council with. So we can make those decisions as a committee itself to include those types of comments.
Okay.
I'll scroll down just a little bit more so you guys can see it. Just let me know if I'm going too fast.
And this is based on the previous.
This is our current work plan. So this is the work plan 2021 to 2023.
Okay. The item that said public art installations, it was just sort of a vague, open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's because we didn't have any, there were no big projects that were coming up. We had not decided to take any money from the public art fund and use it to create an art installation. It's something we would do normally as a committee, but there was nothing happening over these past 2 years.
Okay. Thank you, Peter.
Now let's go to the end.
Keenan, was was the sculpture loan program on here?
Yes.
Was it up at the top, maybe?
Correct. Where is this? At the very top.
Oh, I see it right there. Okay.
And aren't community projects the same as that one we were just discussing? I don't get the difference. Community projects here, and then down there you were talking about new art installations or something. That's the same thing, isn't it?
I believe community projects are initiated by community members, and then it would be a community member coming to the arts committee with a proposal and asking for support or funding.
Right.
Thank you. I get it. So the other one is we initiate it.
Yeah, the money comes from the same public art fund, but yeah,
it started by a different group. I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keenan, one thing I can anticipate from City Council is that when they see a line that says "in progress," they're going to want that qualified. They're going to want to know, well, what's the progress, or when did it start, or what steps have been taken. They may look at it and they may not care, but it may be a pet project for somebody on City Council, and I think they're gonna rightfully have questions about what the progress is. So if it's something like Citywide's art promotion in progress, we would like to see some way of articulating what that progress actually is.
Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, this is just more of a rough draft. And this is why we would like someone from the Arts Committee to help put that input in there to clarify some of these items as well.
Because a lot of them are more like would like to be doing something, but we're not doing anything, right?
Right.
So that's not exactly in progress.
Well, I think like Art in Public Places Ordinance, I think our discussions are leading us more and more into the place where we could have a discussion about it, but we haven't actually
We
started.
haven't yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's.
I personally would like to maybe eliminate or get rid of like the utility boxes. I don't think we'll be doing that. I just don't think so.
I think we have to have them on the plan because they were there before.
Well, he just said we could say maybe we would cancel it or we're not going
Oh,
to
I
do it
see.
anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. We should just be able to speak to the items that we're actually making progress and remove the ones that are just, it seems like there's a lot of noise here on initiatives that haven't had any progress or haven't been started.
Exactly.
So,
thank you.
Keenan, are you familiar with which ones we have made progress on and which ones are kind of stalled just based on the past few meetings? I'm guessing those were the ones that kind of encompass everything that we've been doing.
I would say there's kind of towards, I know like the citywide art promotion is definitely being talked about in this meeting more so, but it has been continued over time. But yeah, specifically like municipal art participants, has not been started. The public art installations has not been started, or the utility boxes.
Or the BART.
BART has been talked about, so that's kind of in a progress component. But I do believe also the Heron sculpture, either investigating some rehabilitation, hasn't really been brought up yet as well, to my knowledge. But that's why I would like to include someone to help get some more information, as well as provide a bigger oversight on all of these as well.
Well, Keenan, maybe this is for when we're discussing the new work plan, but we haven't done anything on the Heron sculpture. It's true, but if we take it off the work plan and it becomes necessary then to do something, then would we be in a box because we're not allowed to do it, or should we keep it on the work plan as a possible thing to add should that contingency arise?
And that's what I would say. It's that's where that discussion kind of comes into. When it's on the work plan, you're easier to move and incorporate things around that. When it's not on the work plan, it's kind of hard to do things revolving that until the next cycle happens.
Yeah.
Keenan, is the action that you're looking for tonight just to get a committee member to work with staff on this?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Okay.
And that can be anybody can nominate themselves, or if committee members would like to nominate someone else as well, that's totally fine.
Let's all start pointing fingers.
We'll use who's not here, starting with that.
But I would say someone that's very interested in kind of looking towards the future for the Arts Committee. This is a great opportunity to kind of get really involved in that planning process.
Keenan, I'm happy to take a first pass at it with city staff, but I don't have all of the details, and a PDF will be hard to work with, so I'll need something that's editable so I can actually write into it. But if we can satisfy those conditions, I'm happy to take a first pass. Maybe we run it by chair after that, and yeah, wrap it up.
Yeah, and like I said, I would love to have everybody included in the discussion, but just that kind of point person to help staff move things along as well.
That sounds great. I nominate Shaw. Harsh, sorry. Member Shaw.
I second it.
All right, then can we take a vote? We have a second.
Yeah, Joy, could you take a vote?
Yes. Chair Gatch,
Yes.
Member Bergman,
Yes.
Member Goldman.
Goodman, yes,
Sorry, Goodman.
that's okay.
Member Samansky,
Yes.
Member Shaw.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, it passes. Congratulations, and I look forward to seeing the flurry of emails. All right, we will move to
I think we do need to bring it to public comment just in case, but
oh, yes, my apologies. Do we have public comment?
no, we do not have public comment.
Okay. Great. Now can I take a step here? One foot in front of the other. Here we go. Agenda item 6.3, the sculpture loan program. And who's presenting sculpture loan program?
I can do it on behalf of Member Bowers. So currently, there is one sculpture up in the town on Masonic in Washington by Jeff Downing. There was another concrete slab that was installed, which is located at Masonic and Solano, which is on Rotary Hill. So that is already complete, but currently, Member Bowers was interested in bringing that call to artists back out for the public to help fill in that vacant spot that's already been produced. So the suggestion was if there would be a motion to approve a call for artists, and if there was an approval, kind of a length of time for that call of artists to be out there looking for an artist.
Okay.
Keenan, is there still money available from whatever, I can't remember what fund it was, but there was some other fund, not the Art and Public Places Fund, but something else that was providing money?
Yes, so there's still the allocation to the $2,000 for the artist to install the work as well as to remove it after the 2-year term.
Yeah, okay.
It's really barely enough.
I know.
I
Oh, God.
I do know it was proposed at $1,000 at the beginning, and then the Arts Committee upped the amounts going forward to increase it by another 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we extend the call, can we also extend the amount at this time? Can we make that part of the motion?
I believe so. But yeah, there would be a need. There would need to be a motion for that. But I would also have to double check to see if that would affect the previous agreements. I don't believe so, but this is going to be a brand new call. So there can be some more adjustments in that sense.
What would the additional adjustments be other than the amount?
And that would be up to the committee itself. So depending on, I know there is a specific space that's already been poured for the concrete. So I would say for ease of moving it forward, I would say suggest, but not pushing you guys into a certain direction to kind of remain within that. So it kind of helps that process get moved forward, but otherwise we're open to motions going forward.
Would anyone care to make a motion?
Is I move that we open the call for artists for sculptures, most definitely. I'm not sure about the money part, but they do write proposals for their artwork, so maybe those costs could be included in the proposal if we're not going to change it, actually.
To fill in committee members who may be unfamiliar with the previous conversations, currently the way that the requirements are written, as I understand them, is that the artist is responsible for transportation of the work to the site, the installation of the work at the site, the de-installation of the work from the site, the transportation of the work away from the site, and then upkeep of the work during its tenure, which includes any repairs or cleaning or dealing with vandalism. Is that correct, Keenan? Did I characterize that correctly?
Correct, but I would say that the city also is very involved in that process as well. So I know with vandalization, the city can get involved in that sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think it was that vandalism was kind of covered by the city, depending on what kind of vandalism, right?
But yes, we would always love the artists to help with that if they seem or determine a flaw in the sculpture itself with the vandalism. That would be more on the artist itself.
Yeah. I think in the current economy, the installation and de-installation, I mean, not even the installation and de-installation, but the combination of transportation and installation, de-installation and transportation away can easily exceed twice the amount that we're offering for artists to participate. And that doesn't even include the risk that the artist is being exposed to in case of vandalism or damage to the work. I know in the current exhibition that I'm curating, shipping costs for work to the exhibition often well exceed $1,000 for a work of art. And that's just the shipping cost. If we're talking about even an artist in the Bay Area who has to rent a flatbed and hire a crew to install work, we're probably looking at $1,000 just to transport it and install it, and the same to remove it. My recommendation would be that we're not offering less than $5,000 for an artist to loan their work to the city for 2 years.
I personally think that's fair. If we really want art in our city, then we're going to have to figure out that it costs that much to get it. It's just not possible to put all that cost on the artist. I think
where's that money going to come from?
From the Art and Public Places Fund, I would assume.
Well, I don't know if you can assume that. If it's only for 2 years, it's ephemeral.
I
think we would have to get the opinion. The city has been so I don't know strict in its interpretation of this. I think we would have to get the opinion of the city if we could pull that additional money from the Art and Public Places Fund or not.
I can say that in my previous conversation with the city attorney in terms of what that question of duration for Art and Public Places Fund, that the example that was brought forward was that the 2-year sculpture loan program satisfied the duration, whereas other forms, like we discussed the haiku as a possibility, and that duration was considered too brief in its form alone, but there could be a component of that project that was more lasting or durational. The example that she gave at the time was thinking about the framing or the format of the posters. So Keenan, do you have a clarification in terms of, my understanding is that the sculpture loan program, the 2-year period, satisfies support from Art and Public Places Fund. Is that correct?
Correct. And I do know when the process was approved, there was approved for 3 sites. So that was also guaranteed, I think, roughly around $28,000 to my understanding. And that was broken into 3 different sites itself. So with that 3rd site not available or currently poured in place, that does leave some extra funding for this program too.
I imagine when the program first started, even $1,000 at the time was less than adequate to provide for all the things that Chair Gotch was listing. I don't know what the thinking was back then, whether it was more viewed as a collaboration between city and artists, and the artist was giving up something in order to gain, I don't know, promotion, whatever that line is they always use. And ultimately, they're not creating the art necessarily for that space. The art is there, and they're just putting it on loan, and then they get it back. So there must have. So I don't know if what their thinking was in making it so low from the get-go.
But you guys do have the chance to
amend it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, would it be possible, Chair Gotch, to say up to $5,000 with receipts?
I think we could say with receipts, but speaking as an artist here, I think what that would quite literally mean is that the artist would accrue some costs, and that the rest would be a line item, which would end up being the artist fee.
Mm-hmm.
And that it doesn't really get us anywhere by requiring it. I always feel that the sort of most bang for the buck that institutions get with working from artists is when they actually give them the lump sum, because most artists are so committed to their work that they're going to overspend rather than underspend, and they're going to shortchange themselves in terms of what their rate is to support the work. I don't want to be in that position of taking advantage of artists in that way, but I think if we put up $5,000 for a 2-year loan, and let's say an artist was able to get the work to the site and effectively installed, and remove it from the site and effectively install it, let's say that only cost them $2,000. It's not an obscene amount of money to be giving an artist a $3,000 loan fee for a 2-year period. Mm-hmm. Again, speaking as an artist who exhibits work, I can see that much in a single exhibition for loaning a work to an exhibition. A collector can see many multiples of that for loaning a work to an exhibition for a much shorter duration. So for a city to offer that amount as a sort of open-ended amount for an artist, I think is well within reason.
I don't disagree with you. I think that's very fair. The thing that I find just a little discomforting is that there seems to be project drift in terms of what the intent of the project was originally and now, and I mean what you're proposing is very fair, but I think if we're going to change the nature of the program fundamentally, that should happen in a more decisive way, and not just like, oh, well, we have a chance to give them some more money and that's a nice thing to do, so let's do it, as opposed to looking at the program and how it was instituted originally and what the intent of it was, what the goal of it was, what rationale was behind the original decision. We can always change it, it's true. I'm just concerned about like changing it a little bit incrementally at a time and kind of losing the thread of what it was originally intended to be. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one thing to keep in mind is that if we put the call out, we still review the proposals, right? So this is not some lump sum given to an unknown artist for an unknown work.
Sure.
That there's still a review process I think what we're hoping to do, and we've seen it's not always easy, regardless of the amount of money. We're just hoping to be able to attract a larger pool of work to draw from, and to make sure that the artists are compensated sufficiently. Member Smotsky?
Is it possible that we could make this call just like we did for the social justice mural, where we say up to a certain amount of money, and then they'll give us whatever they give us? You know, they're going to include their costs, include their, and it might be an easier way to do it. Just say, this is our limit. You know, send it to us. We're going to look at all of them. We'll accept certain proposals instead of getting the cost out front. That might be more palatable, you know, palatable for this kind of thing. And that's the way we do everything else. So. So where are we?
We are at, unless there's other questions, we should probably go to public comment. Do we have public comment on this item?
Yes, we do have one public comment.
Okay.
And Joy, if you can get a timer.
Thanks, Jeremiah. I'll be brief. I don't know, maybe I was just going to suggest possibly extending the time from 2 years to maybe longer. That way there's less turnover and, you know, the money's more worth it. Maybe extend it to 4 years or 5 years. That way the community really gets a chance to appreciate the art. 2 years is pretty brief. So I was just going to say, maybe, is there a possible way to extend the time to 4 years or 5 years? Something like that. And that was all I really wanted to say. Keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Keenan, I think he raises a good point about the duration. Do we have that option? Could we also say that that there's an option to extend the duration of the loan? Or that there's
it's already in it. I think it's already in the contract.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
They have an option to extend how long they want it to be here.
Yeah. And the city also has an option to buy the artwork as well.
That's right.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Then I think we're just looking for a motion.
Chair Gatch.
Oh, sorry, Joy. There needs to be a motion before we do.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I like that you're calling me in, though. I move that we extend the call for another 60 days, and that we increase the amount of the loan to $5,000, up to $5,000, based on the proposal of the loaning artist. And that's it.
May I say maybe 90? We're going to go into holidays and stuff. November, December. Maybe 90 would be better.
Sure. I'm okay with that adjustment. So it's for 90 days. And I would say with the agreement that we would extend it for another 60 days if we don't have a significant number of submissions or proposals. That way it sort of allows it to roll over without having to bring it back around if we don't actually have those proposals.
It's a really good idea. Well, I would second that.
All right. Joy, now's your chance.
Thank you. Chair Gatch,
Yes.
Member Bergman,
Yes.
Member Goodman,
You're muted,
Yeah.
Peter.
Yes.
Member Samansky,
Yes.
Member Shaw.
Yes.
All right. Well, it passes. Hopefully
I'll
we
go
get to
relay this to Member Bowers to keep him in the loop. Mhm.
Great. Thank you, Keenan. Hopefully we're able to attract some more art.
Yeah.
That brings us to agenda item 6.4. This is art on the city website. And Keenan, are you introducing this?
I believe it was brought up by Member Samansky, if she would like to go for this.
Yes, it probably was brought up by me. I just think it's hard for people. I would like to see a way that someone could go on our website and go look at all the opportunities together. Oh, I could have a sculpture over here. I could be in haiku, or I could do, all at once. There could just be the list of opportunities, so it'd be easy for people to find. And actually, it's been much better than it has been in the past. So thank you, Keenan. It really has been a lot better. But I just think it's kind of unwieldy. I am happy to put this on an agenda later because it's so late.
Okay. So you are moving to table this item? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, and for a later meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second? Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I Member Samansky, I had some thoughts, and I'll just write down my comments and send them to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I can make a bigger presentation. I'd like all of your comments because I think this is an issue for us.
Yeah. Okay.
It would be great to see a presentation or a proposal of specific changes that you think would be good, and to get input from the other committee members. And I also think it's gotten better. I think it's a little bit easier to find than it was previously.
Okay, so all of you send me stuff. I will make some specific ones.
Okay. So since this is an agenda item, do we have question? Like, it sounds like we're actually kind of done with this one for tonight, in which case we can move to public comment and discussion and close it out, or we need a motion to table it for the next meeting.
I can make that motion. I motion that we table it for the next meeting.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Great. And Joy, can you please take the vote?
Chair Gatch,
Yes.
Member Bergman,
Yes.
Member Goodman,
Yes.
Member Samansky,
Yes.
Member Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So the motion passes. That is going to bring us to item 6.5, which is subcommittee reports, if available. And to keep us on time, it is currently 9:00. I'm hoping to be through all of this by 9:30. Do we need to do anything to have that as a hard time, Keenan?
I can step in closer to maybe 10 minutes beforehand, just give an update. But yeah, we do have to end by 9:30 though.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, it sounds like we can move past sculpture loan program subcommittee, since Member Bowers is not here, unless there's an update or a report from another committee member. I'm going to take that as a no. Fall into haiku subcommittee.
Right, that's me. I will be brief. I heard from Keenan today. We have 196 submissions, plus I think some people wrote and said, hey, I still have some more. So I hope you're getting everyone who wanted to submit.
I am, yeah. I'm still getting some emails currently.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Desperation at the last minute. So, so that means we should have plenty. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll look over them and we'll come up with a selection and then go into production. I think we should still be on schedule for having all the signs out November, December.
Good work.
Great. That sounds fantastic.
Very good turnout this year.
Excellent. I recruited my daughter to tell her friends.
Oh, good.
I'm sure that only accounts for a very small portion, but nonetheless, every drop in the bucket, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. The Arts and Economic Development Subcommittee. Do we have an update?
Yeah, I can give an update. I'll try to kind of run through this pretty quickly. Just a few things, just based on some of the progress since our last meeting. First is we would like to call it the Albany Murals Project, just kind of giving it a formal name so that we can all kind of refer to it by the same thing. And happy to take any sort of comments on that, perhaps, in a few slides when I wrap up. So party sites updates. So since we last spoke, this is the update on, the 5 places that we are looking at. So for BART and the Greenway, the EDC, Deirdre from the EDC has initiated direct conversation with BART's public arts lead. And we're trying to get a call on the calendar so that we can start having a conversation with them about what the details of working with them might actually look like. Renee's place, member Goodman has already had a preliminary conversation, and I think is sort of following up with a formal call. And then there's the 2 places beyond Gonwall, Raven and Rose. EDC has started to try to figure out who the owner is for a preliminary conversation. And finally, Albany USD. So I've reached out to the chief business officer because I wasn't sure who to contact at Albany USD. If someone has, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the chief business officer does, but if somebody has a better recommendation who to reach out to, otherwise I'm just going to start going down the list as I see online. And then budget. One of the things that we talked about last meeting was, we have this amount set aside in the public arts program of 20,000, 10K for the debunking stereotypes through muralism. And we were talking about potentially trying to get that reallocated. But in order to get that reallocated, we went back to get Keenan's advice and guidance on that. And it's, it sounds like it's a bit too late to make changes to the current work plan given the elections. So our current plan is just continue operating under assumption that 10K can be moved under the new work plan and to do a formal move of the budget next year when we put together the next work plan, assuming some of us are still here. And then the city is going to be providing us with basically a bullet list of talking points we can use when talking with artists and property owners who think about insurance and a few other, with just sort of logistical or administrative details that would come up in conversations. And Isabel's targeting delivery of that this week. And then for review, Peter and I put this together, just the overall process. Some of these things might happen kind of concurrently where EDC is talking to, actually talking to business owners while we're trying to secure budget. But, at first glance, if this process, generally speaking, looks off to anyone, just please flag. Yeah. And I think that's it. Any questions or comments?
I guess it's more of a comment than a question, which is that the committee does have the opportunity to review proposals from community members, so that if it's not coming at the direct initiation from the committee, but an artist who has expressed an interest for doing a mural comes forward, that we do have that option of reviewing those proposals. So in terms of the reallocation of the 10,000, we might not have the opportunity in the short term to directly reallocate that money, but that shouldn't preclude you from working with artists and identifying sites and projects.
Got it. So just to confirm, if a community member comes forward with a project that falls under the scope of the debunking, stereotypes, then that budget could still be reserved for that.
I believe so. And separate from that, if a community member came forward with a plan for a mural, but maybe didn't have a site or was flexible with the site, I believe that they could work with the subcommittee to identify an appropriate site, and that would allow us to review the proposal as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful to know. And we'd absolutely do that.
Are we locked into? We could, in theory, increase the budget to $30,000, right? If we wanted to. Right. The 10,000 is no particular ceiling. They're just historical numbers.
I think what the 10,000 allows us to do is not to have to convene a separate panel to review proposals. So, but we could add, I think, other murals. So you've identified.
It's like 10,000 per project, right? So, in other words, we could have $30,000, but each project might not exceed $10,000, and that would enable us to avoid having a selection committee.
That's correct.
So, Chair, does that mean that there is potentially additional budget that could be made available for this?
Yeah, my understanding is that I think this is one area where the Arts Committee hasn't in the past been particularly proactive, is helping to identify community partners and having them come forward rather than it be initiated from us. So we have had community members come forward with proposals for murals in the past. It was within our authority to review those projects and to make a decision on those projects. So I think that's consistent in this case as well. And I think it's fairly specific in some senses to murals based on the work plan and the areas in which we've identified mural projects. So I've always been on the understanding that there are several opportunities to create murals in Albany. There just hasn't been very much progress in actually making them happen.
Right. I think that's true.
Got it.
But Keenan should be able to work with you on that as well, in terms of identifying where the funds can come from and how they can overlap.
Okay, that sounds good. That's it.
All right. The next item is the Creative Justice Art Project. We have a date. Hot date. October 18th. We will finally have our panelists convening to review the proposals and to make an advisory decision on one or possibly two proposals to be considered by the committee and to be advanced forward. This is a long time coming to get this meeting, and I really appreciate all of Keenan's hard work and his patience in helping to do that. It's been a bit like herding cats, and lots of surveys going back and forth to groups of people to get people on the same page. But it sounds like we're all there. So October 18th, that means for the next Arts Committee meeting, we should have some direction from that panel.
Yay.
Yeah. And that's it for that one. Community Center Foyer Art Gallery Subcommittee, any updates?
Okay, be very fast. A new show went up thanks to Cheryl Black, who took my place when I was out of town. The new submissions are due by November 1st. So next meeting, we'll be looking at those and deciding who will be in the gallery. So please look at them before the meeting. And I still don't feel exactly right talking in a meeting about all these paintings. So maybe we could look a lot beforehand. I won't be in town next meeting, so my biggest problem was going to be artist visits. That's a very short period of time, to get them up and running, but that's coming. So that's all there is.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I have some photographs that are, so how do I get them to the committee? They need their photographs submitted for the
gallery?
Yeah.
Well, you can send them. You can send them to there's an address, with your you fill out the application, and there's an address you can send them to. You can also send digital images if you want to.
Okay, digital images are probably, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'll add, because I know it's a photographer and I think he wants to make sure, it would probably be better to have digitized images.
Just so that we can all see them.
Yes, I think that was because we're not, we're not.
So if we get regular photographs, somehow we'd have to put them online. So yeah,
you have to get them online one way or another. Okay, great.
And the proposal process is already online, correct?
Yes, it is.
Great.
I'm done.
Okay. Then Poet Laureate program.
That's me and Member Bergman.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get our selection committee together. Not everyone is answering their emails or confirming that they got all the stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to get all that worked out. And by our next meeting, we should have a decision.
Peter, what was decided in relation to whether or not it's an ad hoc meeting or
well, what Keenan told me was that the meeting will be open to the public. People can register, but the meeting is not going to be live streamed, nor is it going to be recorded.
Okay.
Do we do the same with the gallery?
We can only do this because we have Zoom meetings. Back in the day when we were meeting live, everything would be,
just there, right?
Yeah, just there. So I don't know what the city policy is going to be moving forward. I think they want to get us all back into physical meetings again, right?
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Keenan, do you have any insight on this?
Regarding the in-person meetings or the display of the artwork?
I would both. I mean, in terms of if the community center meeting can follow the same format that the Poet Laureate meeting is following, and what the future of Zoom versus in person.
Yeah, so for specifically for like the gallery itself, it is decided by the Arts Committee to approve certain artists for that gallery component. And with that does have to be a public meeting itself. But yeah, there are ways to modify that as well. where everybody gets to view it beforehand and then make a decision at that meeting as well. And then regarding the going back into in-person meetings, as some of you may know, the City Council has gone back in person as well as commissions. And then the next step would be committees. There isn't a finalized timeline for that, but I will definitely keep everybody updated as soon as possible.
It's going in that direction, right? It's coming that way.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Keenan. All right. Last is Art and Public Places Ordinance Subcommittee. I feel like every time we have a conversation about a new proposal or project, we are in fact making progress on our understanding of what the ordinance is, and ways in which we may want to see it change. We have not had any formal meetings to discuss what those changes might look like, but I feel like those discussions are happening nonetheless. Member Szymanski, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I absolutely agree. I think we're making progress. Like some of these things, every time we talk to each other, these issues come up and we're getting more and more information to base that on. I totally agree. Great.
This is a agenda item, so we do have to go to public comment. If there's any public comment on the subcommittee reports. Is that correct, Keenan? Do we have public comment for this? Yes. Okay.
Currently, we don't have any public comments at this time.
Okay, great. In that case, thank you everyone for your reports. We will go now to agenda item number 7, which is future agenda items. Please be very clear about what future agenda items you would like to see. You do have the option to email Keenan at a future date with other agenda items, but if you know currently which agenda items you would like to see in the next meeting, now's a good time to voice them. We should have a creative, Albany Creative Justice Art Project agenda item to discuss the advisory decision.
Keenan, quick question. If we wanted to rename the EDC AAC subcommittee to the Mural subcommittee and also just formalize the name of the project, does that require a vote?
I believe so, yes.
Great. Can we add that to
of course,
as a item to be discussed as a decision? Thank you.
And Sarah, by the sound of it, it sounds like if you want to make changes to the process for the gallery, that you should probably put that as a agenda item.
Thank you. Yes. Would you please do that, Keenan? That's got to be a decision.
Okay.
And just to jump in as well, I will also reach out to everybody about 2 weeks beforehand just to see if anything has changed or if you have any other agenda items that you're looking to have. I'll definitely follow up with everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keenan. Do we have public comment on this agenda item?
Yes, we do. And we do have one public comment. Joy, if you could start a timer.
Thanks, it's Jeremiah. I guess my request for future agenda item is pretty vague. I was just going to suggest something from the work plan that possibly you haven't given much attention to. And also, I was just wondering if you can answer, where would I be able to find the Arts Committee work plan on some sort of city website? Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Keenan, do you have easy directions on where to find the work plan?
Yes, I'll pull up the website for you. So under the city website, if you go to Our City, you can go to Art in Albany, as well as you can go to the Albany Public Arts Master Plan. This is going to have the plan itself, as well as, let's see here, I believe it's in the Albany Arts Committee main page. So this is going to have information regarding the members. We have our current work plan right here on the sidebar, where you can see all of our work plan items for the full 2 years.
Great. Thank you, Keenan. All right. Then in that case, nice job, everyone. We are at 9:21. Our next meeting will be Monday, November 14th in 1 month. So without further ado, thank you again, everyone, for your attention tonight and your endurance. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night.